All right. So if we could everyone please state their names and their occupations? I guess we'll start.
Landau, Executive Director of the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations.
Senator Vincent Hughes.
Gloria, Billingsley, Director of the Master's Program at Jackson State University.
Okay, so thank you all for joining us. We're kicking off day 2 of our conference. How does everyone feel about their session just now?
He's a great speaker.
You definitely were a wonderful speaker. You got everybody awake. Even those who don't drink coffee, you got them up. So that was wonderful. So tell us a little bit about what you feel is the role of minorities within the field of public administration.
Well, 20 years ago, it would be very different than what we will be 20 years from now. And if we don't foster that leadership and that great thinking and that history and that knowledge, then the successors of those of us who are in charge right now will have to relearn stuff that they should already know when they go to take on their own responsibility.
Are there any additional consequences that you can see if we don't start engaging our communities better?
Understand government, the process and procedures, but also of working with community. Then what happens in the university becomes relevant. The communities begin to embrace what happens, and we see change. I think in the absence of this marriage between the academy and what happens in the community, we're going to be doomed to repeating things that don't work. And so what the academy does is test those things and make sure that they do work and that they have policy relevant for those communities.
We often say these issues, but we never really are specific about what these issues are. So what would you define as the major issues that minorities are facing, especially within your jurisdictions?
Well, everything in America stems out of America's a capitalist nation. Everything stems out of economics. America is supposed to be a nation built on democracy. A democratic society only works if it's an educated society. So education is absolutely next. And the issue of participation, the opportunity to vote and to engage thoughtfully to make the right decisions for the broader community. And those 3 barriers are, I think, the keys. The economic disparity that exists is even more so for communities of color and marginalized communities, making it harder for them to achieve the American dream. When our education system is being essentially snatched from us for corporate purposes, It makes it even harder for children who need education the most, because they come from marginalized families, so they need education most to advance themselves, is fundamental to the success of our education system. And democracy is supposed to be the great equalizer. And the problem that we have in a democratic society is that too many folks are choosing not to participate in their own freedom, not to take the stance up or make the choice to participate politically. Half of the people, and I may be being a little bit too generous with this, half of the people who are able to vote, able to register to vote, are registered to vote. Half of the adults who are able to be registered to vote are registered to vote. Half of that half choose to vote. So basically, 25%, and I'm rounding up the numbers just to make it easier to understand, 25% of the adults are making a decision for 100% of the nation. And so this issue of seizing democracy is so fundamental at the time of where we're reviewing what happened in Selma as a result of the movie, so fundamental when we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, okay? So fundamental as we witness 2 days from now, the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X, okay? This issue of democracy is so fundamental, and we choose to opt out of democracy as opposed to opting into it. And those, I think, are the three fundamental linchpins of the success of this nation.
In Philadelphia, to make it more specific, 25% of our city, the people live in poverty. And if 1 in 4 Philadelphians is living in poverty, then we can't succeed. And we need to make sure that everybody has access to high-quality educations, access to jobs with living wages, so that all of the families can be lifted up, and that we can make sure that we, in Philadelphia, a diverse community with people from every background, racial, ethnic, religious, from countries, war-torn countries, everybody has equal access to opportunities here in Philadelphia, because we can't have just a small population of Philadelphians thriving. Everyone needs to thrive in order to make sure that we're a thriving city. It's been 50 years since many things, including the passage of the Civil Rights Act. We should not be where we are now. The people in poverty, people with poor education in this city are disproportionately people of color, and we've got to turn that around.
As I listen to my colleagues describe the issues, there are 3 words that came to mind. The issue of disenfranchisement of marginalized communities, hopelessness, and lack of vision. And so I want to just summarize I think it's important. Vision is important. And if we think about what Dr. King did, what Malcolm X did, what many of the other people who have been out on the front lines working for equality and justice, there was a vision. And I think what we see in marginalized communities is that there is no vision, that this hopelessness has become so pervasive that it makes it difficult for people to even see beyond their current circumstances. And so, if I may, based on my faith, it says that where there is no vision, the people perish. And I think that that's the greatest issue for marginalized communities, is the lack of vision.
So how can an organization and an event like COMPA do a better job in the future of engaging communities who may not have been able to be reached thus far, communities who may not have the financial means to attend an event like this? How can we better engage those communities to ensure that they're not getting left behind and lost in translation?
One of the things that I found in my earlier career is that oftentimes we make assumptions about what communities really need. And I'm a firm believer that everything that needs to happen in a community for them to solve the problems rests within that community. And I think that when we give communities a voice, so we need to figure out how do we translate, how do we take what we know and what we do from within the ivory towers or the 4 walls of institutions back to the community, and we need to figure out a way to translate that so that it is